So greetings, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of this leadership conversations that I have been conducting with one of the profound leaders, especially in the international NGO community. And today I am so excited because I am so privileged to be and honored to be joined by Dr. Hudock, who is the president of Counterpart International and the CEO. How you doing today? Let me just start checking on you.
It's so nice to see you, Joyce. I'm so honored myself and privileged to be here with you and to be part of these important conversations that I know you're convening. So thank you for the invitation and really looking forward to a great conversation with you.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So I'm just gonna kick it off, of course, do a little introduction. My name is Joyce Weru, and I am the founder and leadership executive coach at Rise Above Coaching. And today, again, I'm joined by Anne, who is the CEO and president of Counterpart International. Wow, she brings over 25 years of experience in international development. And she currently leads Counterpart and its mission to promote civic participation and government accountability across various program portfolios globally, by the way. Prior to that, Anne worked for Plan International USA, where she served as a vice chair of the Plan Federation Program Director Forum. She's been a managing director at DAI. Democracy and governance work has been the foundation of her career. She was one of the Democracy Fellows at USAID back in 1997. I'm not going to date you, Anne, but
very first role, long time ago.
Yes, yes. And it's great to see how you have evolved. And then she currently serves on the advisory board for the University of Daytona Human Rights Center, and is co-chair of the Society for International Development, Democracy, Rights, and Governance Workshop. She's also on the advisory committee for the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition, and is also a very published author of NGO and Civil Society Development, Democracy by Proxy, which is a fabulous book that I think everybody should go out and get, and we'll put information about the book as we close. She has a PhD in development studies. She got her master's in international affairs and also a bachelor's in English with a minor in French and communication. So again, I'm so honored for you to be here. And as I mentioned, I have been doing this conversations because I think they're so critical, and we really need to really showcase, the leaders who have been on the front line as well, because they're not only they're managing themselves as people, they're leading these organizations, the stakeholders that you guys serve, your projects, and for you, even as Counterpart International, because it's so global. And so I think it's very important for us to have that. So maybe you could just give us a little background, a little bit of the mission of Counterpart International.
Sure, I would be happy to. And thank you so much, Joyce, for that really generous introduction. It really is such a pleasure to share experiences with you. And I think it's so timely that we sit down today to talk about leadership. And it's also something that it's the core of Counterpart's mission. As we were set up more than 55 years ago, it was with the intent to help communities really drive their own solutions for the challenges they face. And as you know, you can't do that without leaders, people who step forward and say, I see something that I believe can be better or different. And then they take that active role in not just making change, but really working with that community to bring the community along together with them to find those solutions. So that's at the core of Counterpart, really leadership, local organizations, local networks, to create resilient communities. And you said it very nicely in the introduction. It really boils down to a couple of things for us. One is that we want all citizens to be able to use their voice to create change where they see the need. And the second is we want to create spaces and dialogue with governments so that not only can governments be held accountable, but they can become partners, citizens and government, in crafting the solutions where they see needs.
Wow. Yeah. I of course have followed the mission of, we are seeing that play out right now. And even as that's why I'm doing this conversation with leaders, so we can hear from the voices of the people, who you are as a leader. And even that goes to, one of my favorite quotes where, if your mind is expansive and flattered, you will find yourself in a more accommodating world, right? A place that's endlessly interesting and alive. And that's kind of what people are trying to create now. So, if you take that, what do you think that leaders must do at this time?
I think it's really important, first and foremost, for leaders to listen. I think leaders often feel they have to talk and they have to put their views out there. And at this moment in time, especially for me at Counterpart, as we do have a global presence and we work in so many different communities, it's really been my job to listen to the people who have been affected by COVID in the communities where we work, the people who face food insecurity and look down the line the next 12 to 18 months and only see both of those situations worsening. We have a whole network of women's organizations who we work with who are experiencing firsthand gender-based violence because of the stressors and the violence in the homes, and they're not being able to get out as they used to because of the quarantine or the stay-at-home orders. And so it's really important to listen. It's also really important to listen to the staff. Our team at Counterpart is so dedicated and works tirelessly to help promote the mission of Counterpart. And I really want to listen to them and to hear what are the things that they need as staff members, team members, as people. So first and foremost, it's listening. And then I think it's using the platform that I have as a leader and that Counterpart has as an NGO to really bring those voices to the fore and to make sure that we're creating space for voices that don't often get heard. And to me, that's what the Black Lives Matter movement is really all about, is getting the voices that have so historically been marginalized or ignored or worse yet, repressed, and giving space to them. And I see already how many people are thinking differently, really understanding things differently. And I find that so exciting and so full of potential. I think the recent events that led to this moment have been horrifying and egregious in their violations of basic human rights. But if out of that can come a changed society, and not just for a moment, but really systemic change that lasts for generations and only, changes further for the better, then I think we've all, been part of something really important.
Yeah. And I read, and yes, your work through the community of marginalized and having them hear a voice is so instrumental, and it's so relevant now. And it's actually, like you just said, even with when you bring up the Black Lives Movement and being able to speak on that and the systematic, I think you all have done such a good job on a global perspective, and it will be very interesting to see how that will unfold, right here where we are, right? Because I think, even when Counterpart has been around for a long time, and they had almost projected like this is what the change that needs to happen. And I love the way you brought in the stuff of like even the women and everything that's going on. So it feels like there's so much at stake right now, right? And that's what I'm experiencing. So as what will be the contribution to the world as we embrace this new normal, and how can we achieve the change that we want to see come forward?
I think that's such an important question, because some days it all feels really too big and too overwhelming and too exhausting. And that would be the worst feeling to stay with. I think it's fine and very normal to feel those things. And then I think we have to look beyond them and say, what's the next right step that we should be taking? What is the next move that's going to advance this cause? And by doing that, I think it allows us to build momentum. And that's what these movements are all about, is slowly but surely building momentum. And then it picks up, and then really holding on tight and being there for all the good things that are going to come, and then, redirecting as needed, and also taking moments to take a break, to step back, and not just to recharge yourself, but really to refresh your thinking, to say, is this working as well as it should, or is there something else that we can do? Is there someone missing from this conversation who should be at the table with us?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I think those are really important things to do. And I think if you can just keep looking for those moments of light to move you forward, it's enough. You know, if you try and solve everything in one fell swoop, I think you'll end up deeply frustrated. And, you know, these are not just generational, but challenges that have been around for centuries in our country. And in many of the countries where we're working, they've faced these challenges from the time their country began.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are, you can't have a quick fix to something that is, you know, many, many hundreds, if not thousands of years old.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And I think one of the points, even when we started these conversations, you talked about, you know, taking care of your staff, you know, and hearing, you know, taking care of yourself, and you know, I know the pressure that's on the leaders right now, because you're being told to show up, right, and you're being told to have that presence, and you're being told to almost take a stand on where you are as a leader. So, you know, with that, you know, even, you know, asking you, and personally, you know, what are some of the self-care things that you have taken? What are some of the awareness you have kind of discovered about yourself through these two major global almost events that's happening right now?
I think it's really important to take those breaks when you can. You know, I think for a lot of leaders, or at least I'll speak for myself, you know, we feel like we constantly have to push ahead and drive things forward and bring the teams along with us, and, you know, really, you know, accelerate change. And
Yeah.
sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and for your teams is just to pause and just to take a moment or a weekend. We have a long weekend coming up, so this is a very appropriate moment to talk about this.
Yeah.
And really unplug from work. You know, get outside, spend some time with loved ones, socially distant, of course, but, you know, making sure that you really let go of all those stressors, even for a brief moment. They're going to be there when you get back, but it never fails to amaze me how my perspective changes, or how energized I feel and ready to carry on with the next thing. And I also know from experience, both as a team member and now as a CEO, that if your leader takes a break, it gives everyone else permission to take a break.
Yeah.
And so I really take that to heart. I'm not always as good about it as I should. I do still sometimes send a weekend email when I should just leave it until Monday morning, you know, but I'm trying because I know how important it is.
Oh, yeah, that is, you know, I mean, as a coach, you know, as a, you know, with leadership, we work on that a lot, the unplugging and being able to pause, even when you're going through a lot. So I think that's very important. And yes, I'm looking forward to this weekend,
Good.
at least for myself,
Me too.
as well. So, you know, Anne, I know you have shown a lot of work with the resilience. You know, if you were to explain the gift of resilience, what would you say?
I like the way you frame the question, because to me, resilience is a gift. It's a hard fought gift, but it really is one, because so much of resilience is about your own perspective. I think people who are resilient, they start with the knowledge of things might be difficult for me, but I can see a path forward. And if I can't see the path, I'm going to find it.
Mm.
And that's very different than someone who says, woe is me, I'm stuck in these circumstances, look what the world has done to me. And I think it's really important for all of us to really embrace what we've been given in life and realize that the choices we make are ours and that we have agency. And that is something that every community we work in shows us time and time again, of how they can make choices that will drive their future and their destiny in ways that, you know, will benefit the community for such a long time. And I think if that presence of mind is not there to start with, it's too easy to spiral down into the energy of what's not here, what's lacking, what can't I do. So I think that's really important. And I also think that there is an element of acceptance. So as much as you're saying, I can do something, I have agency, it's also really important to be resilient, is to accept that there are going to be some things that you can't change. And that if you can at least have a position of gratitude for the things you do have, rather than thinking so much about what you don't have, again, it provides such an incredible mental shift that I think really, propels you forward and deepens that resiliency.
Wow, that is so beautifully said. And
Thank
what I
you.
take from it is, it's just, yeah, I think it's just so profound when you have an understanding that as humans, every human being has everything they need at this right moment, and you're right, it's about choice, but we're all full, we're all whole and resourceful, and we could be creative in however we want to see things almost unfold for ourselves and our communities. So I think it's very important for you to have been able to even actually articulate that as we go through this.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for that. So Anne, I know you love gardening. I know you love flowers, and you
Yes.
can tell I love flowers too, because I buy flowers all the time. My kids are like, "We're going to turn our house into a flower place." So that's I love that. I love the pictures of flowers. So
Thank you.
as we're coming to a close, when you think about you in the garden, or you look at what picture comes to you as we look forward?
I do love gardening. So thank you for letting me talk about one of my passions. Like you, my children are tired of listening and seeing. I think they enjoy the garden, but it's nice to have someone who's a receptive audience. So thank you. I really think that a garden for me is a sign of hope.
Mm,
And, if you plant a garden, you're really not planting it for yourself. You're planting it for the generations to come. And that gives me a lot of peace, because I have 4 boys, and I think about the fact that they will be here, I pray, long after I will. And by planting a garden and tending to it and showing them how to nurture things and what can be created, the beauty that can come out of this blank canvas, I hope that shows them the power of hard work, the power of patience, that investments you make now will pay off down the line, even if you can't see them, so that you should just keep doing what you're doing. And also that you're not in this alone, that if you're planting a garden, you're tending to something for the future for others. And so it really makes you part of something much bigger. And I think in many ways can help connect people. And then, of course, it's such a place for respite and for unplugging
yeah.
and for self-care. So not just the gardening work itself, because that is also, I think, very cathartic, but the ability to then reap what you sow, as they say, and sit in the garden and put your feet up and look around and just admire the beauty in the world.
Yes, that's what I love too. I love
That's the
that.
fun part.
That's the fun part. Let's sit back and take it all in, right? When it has
Exactly.
bloomed and everything. And I think even for you, like you said, it's also it's so nurturing. It's almost like you, as a mom, you nurture your kids, and even the gardens, and now that's what we're trying to do with our work going
Mhm.
forward, is trying to plant hopefully the more better actions that will actually really take us to a whole new level, where like we could go back and look at the human piece of like the respect and the dignity and the equality of every single human being. That's actually it's a gift. It's there for us,
Mhm.
so wow, this has been great, and thank you so much for even taking the time today, this morning, to share your insights, and I cannot even begin to really acknowledge what the leaders have been doing today. And that's really why I took the time to really showcase this, and have this interview with you. So and I hope that we'll get a chance. I know DC maybe is opening up a little bit it's coming up, but thank you so much for your time today.
Joyce, thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and I've really enjoyed it. And, I appreciate so much what you're doing, because leaders need expert advice and leaders need coaches,
Yeah.
and you're helping to make all of us better. So I love that you've put this series together. I think it's so important, and it's an honor to be included with the people who you've been talking with. So thank you for making the time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And please enjoy your weekend too.
You too. Thank you very much. I'll be in the garden.
Yeah, I will too. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Joyce.
All right. Bye-bye.